Hello there, guys. This is Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. And I'm very excited to tell you I read 15 books or like things in September. 15! Who am I? Okay, I read a lot of manga though. That's why. But regardless, let's jump into it. I read some other things too that were like big or like classics. And yeah, I'm excited about this. And I have lots of plans for October. You may have already seen my Victober TBR, so I'm not going to rehash my Victober TBR. If you're interested, you can go watch my Victober TBR. But I have some other things that I want to read in October. And actually, even some of them might also fit for Victober, but I just didn't like check. So I didn't check when they were written. So although that is something that I should do, like anytime I'm reading. Yeah, anyways, regardless. Okay, what did I finish? I finished Bleak House. Yay. So as you know, I'm filming this early. I'm filming this on September 25th. So I usually film my wrap-ups a little bit early. And that is because a lot of times I have announcement videos coming out at the end/beginning of the month. So yeah, or vlogs. Like it's just hard to fit this in at the end of the month every month. So sometimes it comes a little early. So I actually filmed my last wrap up a little early. And so I finished Bleak House in September. Did I finish it in August? I don't remember. But regardless, it's done now. I finished it. I loved it. I talked about it a lot in previous videos. So I'm not going to... I didn't count it as something that I finished in those other videos, but I talked about it quite a lot. So it is officially counted now as a finished book. Not that I usually need anything to count, really. I just put my books in Google Docs, but I really need to use Storygraph and or Goodreads. I really need to, but it's just like another thing, you know? Like, it's just another thing to do. And it's worthwhile, but yeah, I can't seem to fit it in, guys. I just cannot seem to prioritize them. Which is crazy, because I used to review everything that I read on Goodreads. But that's when I was a blogger, and I spent a lot of time on it. I'm just not interested in spending that much time anymore. Regardless, I also finished Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev. And this was... Okay, Bleak House was like 90%. I loved it. It was a little too long. That's probably what I would say. But I loved every second of it. It was so good. Even when it was hard work, I always was like, this is worth it though. Yeah, because I let myself take breaks in between sections and stuff. And I just read other things to kind of keep it fresh. And then I was excited to come back to it because I had enough time to do that. Or at least I made enough time. I actually stopped studying languages a lot during the Bleak House readathon. I need to blow my nose. I'll have to do it later. So I made room for it, and I was really glad that I did, because that made all the difference reading Bleak House. I just have to know that in the summers when we're reading giant books with Naomi and Victoria, and Tiffany's joining us next year for, what are we reading? A Tale of Genji? And that's a gigantic Japanese novel by a female author. I don't remember the author's name. Regardless, yeah, I just have to like make sure that I'm not overloading myself in the summers with heavy books. I think if there's a little bit of room in my schedule for other things, that really helps. But regardless, and making liberal use of audiobooks also helps. So that's how I've learned to get through the giant classics and enjoy them like fully. So Fathers and Sons, I think I would give probably like 3.5 stars. So maybe like a 72 or 3%, somewhere around there. So I enjoyed this, and I like that Turgenev was not writing like, what's the word? When you just blast somebody that isn't really fair. Like, he's writing about nihilism in Russia, and he's criticizing the younger generation for nihilism, but he doesn't do it in like a way where you just... I guess some people hated the main character, Bazarov, who was a nihilist. I didn't hate Bazarov. I like kind of pitied him, and I felt like it ends up being, I just got so invested in him. And yeah, I love this cover too. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think it'll like stick with me. It's about the differences between the fathers and sons in Russia. So we're following a boy who comes home from college and sees his dad again, and he brings his like newest best friend with him, and his friend is Pizarro the Nihilist. And sort of as the book goes on, you see more about what the nihilist is actually, what his beliefs actually are, and how he actually lives them out, and how that's different from life, I guess, as most people experience in Russia. It's about like the triumph of love and familiar love. So the author was a liberal. He wanted to reform parts of Russia and the Russian traditional structures. He wanted to reform them, Turgenev did, but he didn't want to completely destroy them and start over like the super liberals did, the younger generation, the nihilists. They just wanted to drive a truck basically over all of the old traditions and raze them to the ground and start over again. And he was like, I don't think so. Like, I really don't think that's the best. So everybody ended up hating Turgenev after this came out. Everybody was mad. The conservatives, the liberals, and the more radical nihilists. So, excuse me. So yeah, it was really interesting and good. Okay, what's next? I also finished the Joan of Arc biography that I was working on for Legendary Readathon by Helen Castor, and I think this was definitely worth the effort to read. I'm pulling it up for you so that you can see what the book is. And it did take me quite a long time to read because I think it just takes me a little while to read nonfiction. And also because you can't just sort of start with Joan of Arc. You have to like know what's going on in France at the time, and between France and England, and you have to learn about the power dynamics. And it was fascinating to get a peek into this. And when we meet Joan herself, that's when I was enjoying it the most, and it didn't feel like work anymore to read, and I actually flew through it once I got to Joan. So, and I actually started a new reading program, shall we say, as I was reading this, because I realized if I really wanted to read something that was requiring this much attention, I would need to do it like first thing when I get up. And not even when I get up, I just roll out of bed, or I just roll over in bed and pick up my phone and start reading, or my iPad or whatever. For this, it was great. I could just read it on my phone because I could play the Libby audiobook, and then I could read the ebook in Kindle while I was listening. And that worked great for me. So I've been doing that with other books now too. So I've always kind of wanted to just like lazily roll over in bed and read, but I always felt like I needed to specifically start out with the Bible. And while I do still do that some days, I feel like it's also okay to start with other things and then listen to the Bible later, or, pray along with the Bible later, or study for Bible study later, or whatever I want to do. I don't have to start out with the Bible first thing. I can, but if I do that, I generally don't get to reading other things. But if I start off with other things as well, and then also read the Bible, then I can read a little of both. And I think that's good for me. So yeah, this was really helpful for me because it started a new strategy of reading. So that was really fun. And I don't know what happened. I've recently said that I don't actually script wrap-ups and TBRs, but I do like keep a list. So I guess I sort of like loosely script it, but I just don't write out my thoughts ahead of time. Okay, New Moon. Oh, I didn't pull that. I think it's already over there on my shelf, so I'll just pull it up here. New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. I finished this as well for Legendary Readathon. So I finished all of my Legendary Readathon reading after the readathon ended, except for The Vampire by John William Polidori. I actually did read that one in time, so go me. New Moon. Oh. There we go. And I'm now listening to the first book and I'm just enjoying this reread so much. It's so funny. I mean, Stephanie Meyer is funny. I I remember why I loved her as a teen. Her writing is really breezy, and her character dynamics I find very funny. So yeah, enjoying it so much. So this is the book following. I think I talked about this quite a bit as well in earlier videos, so I don't think I will talk about it too much, but this is another book following the love story of Edward Cullen and Bella Swan, except Edward leaves Bella at the beginning of this book, and it like devastates her, and so she makes a new friend who turns out to be another mythological creature. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's interesting because it involves, I don't know how accurate the legends are, but she uses Quileute legends to kind of create the second book, and to create kind of an antagonist to the vampires, like with another legendary creature. And everybody who's like Team Jacob, I think it's a lot of it is because of this book, and I agree. I think New Moon might actually be my favorite. I really enjoyed spending time with Jacob, and then the emergence of the second mythological creature. It's just right up my alley. So yeah, and it's fun because it's just a bunch of like teenage mythological creatures, and they're so different from the vampires. They're just, because they're all really young, whereas the vampires are all really old. They're like more stately and cultured. I wonder if there's something to that. I don't know. Like, it's almost like there's like new and then old. It's like old world and new world kind of clash. It's fascinating. I loved it. Okay. Next. Oh, I don't have it here. Okay, I'll pull this one up too. I actually have this one still, but I forgot to bring it back here. That is Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick, which is a memoir. It's actually a journalistic story of, I think, 6 North Korean defectors. And it's interesting because, like, 2 of the defectors knew each other. They're all different ages. These are some of the most early defectors from North Korea. And so you kind of see how North Korean, like, the government reacted to them running away from the country. And you see how they have built lives for themselves in South Korea. And they all have different perspectives on North and South Korea and the things they experience. I mean, this really stood out for me among North Korean defector, like, memoir type literature, because normally memoirs are just one person, but this is 6 people. And it's also interweaved with a lot of history about the North versus the South. And I just feel like, reading about North and South Korea has been kind of my gateway to history. I've never been so interested that I would read anything I could get my hands on. And I'm learning about other world powers through their reaction to North and South Korea. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. And I think it won the National Book Award. It was a National Book Award finalist. And I think for a good reason. It definitely stands out, and it's super unique. So loved this. Okay, Attack on Titan volumes 3 through 5, which I also talked about quite a bit in my vlogs this month. So I'm reading this with Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia, and neither of us are huge horror readers normally, but I've been really, like, I think I could be a big horror reader. So I'm excited to read more horror, actually, because this is like, I love it. It's definitely going to be among my favorites of the year. So this cover is showing you one of the Titans. Titans are giants who enjoy eating humans just for fun. They don't have, like, digestive tracts, so they don't actually need to eat humans. They just do it for fun. And so humans have built up a series of walls, and they have cities behind each wall. And the Titans, there's a super smart Titan. Normally, Titans are not smart, but a super smart Titan breaks one of the outer walls and starts getting in and, like, attacking the humans. And it's riveting. So there's a group of young humans who are training to attack the Titans. And they have all these interesting strategies for how to kill the Titans so that they don't regenerate and heal. And it's fascinating. I'm like, what are these Titans? I know there's metaphors here. It talks about fear and death and courage and just everything. Everything important in life is like in here. I just love it. I'm living with it. I'm just living for it. So I think Tiffany's enjoying it as much as I am. So I've enjoyed every single volume though, and I think there was one volume where she was like, ugh, why are we getting backstory here? I want to progress. But I think I even loved that volume the best because I had the most notes on that one. So I can't wait to continue this. Probably will next month. Okay, reading Pride and Prejudice in the 21st Century, which is a great course. I had Audible accidentally for 2 months. I forgot about it the first month. See, this is why I'm like, okay, I cannot have Audible because I forgot that I had it somehow. And so I didn't read that much that was on it, but I'm always interested in reading like listening to the great courses whenever I have it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull it up for you. This was a really like modern take. Obviously it's for the 21st century. It's by Patricia A. Matthew. And it says it's only from Audible, but I found that even if, Audible says, oh yeah, this is only on Audible, that's not always true. They actually often will be still on Libby if you look in Libby. So definitely check Libby before like buying something that says only on Audible, because that might be like an older cover and it might not actually only be on Audible anymore. Regardless, it was very modern. Lizzie is her favorite heroine. I enjoyed her take on Lizzie. I didn't enjoy her take on some of the other heroines. Like, she just didn't appreciate the other heroines at all. Of course, Lizzie's fun. And Pride and Prejudice is probably the most fun of the books. But I don't know. It's not, like, the best, in my opinion. I enjoy it, but I definitely prefer other books more. So, yeah. It was interesting to hear what she thought about particularly Darcy and all of these representations of Darcy and like what made Darcy hot and all this stuff. Like, it was interesting. It just was like super modern. So I would say keep that in mind. I'm trying to prepare myself better for Feb Regency by just a little bit of research throughout the year. I don't have to read Regency only during Feb Regency. In fact, I feel like I need to like inform myself about it more. So okay, another book. So I forgot to mention this, but I have been alternating my reading of fiction and nonfiction because I just feel like for me, that is a better way for me to stay interested and to keep learning. I know some people actually learn really well through fiction, and I do learn somewhat through fiction. But I feel like nonfiction is important for me to sort of get the basics down. I just don't maybe have this basic framework as a lot of people. And I don't know why that is. I went to school just like everybody else, but reading nonfiction is helping me kind of build up that basic framework. So, and I don't find it, even when it's difficult reading, I don't find it dry usually. So this is Lost in Waiting, which is a memoir by Wesley Hill about his experience growing up with both faith and also knowing that he was gay. He has homosexual feelings for other men. So it's about how he has known both of those things from a very young age. And he kind of, he doesn't like say that other takes that have come out on Christianity and homosexuality are wrong necessarily, but he says, this is my experience, and it breaks a lot of the things that Christians were raised to believe a lot of times. He was raised in the Bible Belt. He's like, my father was not absent, so and he's like, I've never been healed from it, stuff like that. It's very scriptural, but also like laden with his own experiences. So he's bringing both scripture, it's like soaked in scripture, and also he's bringing his own experiences to the table. So I loved this. I definitely want to read more from him. I just saw that he posted an essay about gender, and I want to read that. I don't know. I'm very interested in him. There was more that I did like a tiny bit of research about who he actually is. He is an associate professor of biblical studies at Trinity School for Ministry in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. And he does other things as well. So he's written other books. I'm excited to learn more about him. I loved him. I think he's just a remarkable person. So, okay. I also finished The Moon Spinners by Mary Stewart. I am enjoying Mary Stewart so much. I read the first book by her, Airs Above Ground, I think it was, for a Bookish Kingdom book club, Emma's book club. And I just enjoyed it so much. I was shocked. It's a new genre for me for sure. It's like a really kind of gentle romantic suspense. And I have just loved both of her books so far. And it's so funny because they're both books that Kate Howe is like, not my favorite. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a whole bunch of Kate Howe's favorites still to come. So Kate Howe's the one who told Emma, I think, about Mary Stewart. So thank you to Kate Howe. I found a new genre. So both of her books so far have been set in Europe. This one is set in Greece, and it follows a young woman who goes hiking and finds two young men, one of whom has been shot, and they're hiding from the authorities in the Greek countryside in this like really rural area of Greece. And it was so fun, guys. It was a very slim volume, but it did take me like several weeks because there was no ebook or audiobook that I could get. There was an audiobook on Audible actually, but I just couldn't get myself to pay for it because it was only like 200 something pages. I was like, okay, that's not worth it. So I enjoyed this so much. I'm trying to even think of a rating. I don't know. I kind of hate rating things, honestly, but I would probably give it like a 70. I really enjoyed it though. 70 sounds so low, but it's just like, it's not life-changing, but it was just so refreshing and fun, you know? So I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, next I finished Luke. That was my own Bible study going on, and lately I've been doing a lot of listening, but I have been trying to actually sit down and pray with the Bible and read it. So I finished Luke, and we haven't quite finished Daniel yet, because that was my fault mostly. I had to cancel a bunch this month. I usually like protect my Tuesdays, but I've had like appointment after appointment after appointment on Tuesdays. So, and Kate Howe's also hosting a book club on Tuesday nights. So I might end up missing more. We'll see, but hopefully we'll finish Daniel soon because I'm enjoying both of them so much. Okay, Breaking Bread with the Dead. This is for a vlog that I will be posting very soon. Goodness. Okay, by Alan Jacobs. And I'll be talking about it a little bit in there. I am regretting not getting the ebook copy of this because there was some terminology he used that I thought was very like witty and accurate and interesting and like informative. But because I couldn't follow it as well on audiobook, I kind of rated it sort of middling. I think it would have probably been a higher rating if I'd read it physically. So, or on ebook. When I say physically, I mean like with my eyes rather than my ears. So I guess physically is not quite accurate because ebooks, I don't know. Regardless, this is A Reader's Guide to a More Tranquil Mind. So it's about how to escape presentism. Presentism is a problem that he sees is like a problem that our modern age deals with, which is being very concerned with the here and now and not really thinking about thoughts that people had in the past or connecting with people who are different from ourselves. And it's about being less judgmental, I would say, towards people who think differently, and I guess becoming more comfortable breaking bread with the dead, like sitting with your otherness and their otherness and just conversing and listening and having empathy for each other, I guess. I don't know that he would explain it quite that way, but yeah, I thought it was really, he talks about like the virtue of kindness, which I really like. So I did enjoy this, and I'm not going to give you any more information because I want to save it for the vlog. So I DNF'd a couple things as well. I DNF'd Christy by sorry, I really should have looked these up ahead of time. I have like so many books piled here, but I just realized they are all not my wrap up. They're all for my TBR. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. I have lots of books to show off today, but they're all for my TBR. Okay, Christy by Catherine Marshall, which is a historical fiction novel set in the Smoky Mountains. This is a school teacher, a 19-year-old school teacher, who travels to the Smoky Mountains basically to minister to the people there. They don't have any education. Like, they're dying because of their lack of education. It's so rural. It's like a mission zone, basically. And that's how she ends up growing into the kind of person that can minister to the people there. But I ended up DNFing it because it was just like, even though it's actually like a true story, for the most part, it's based on her mother's life. I just was like, it feels like Christian fiction, and I'm just not in the mood for Christian fiction. I don't know. I don't want to be judgy about Christian fiction, but it's just not something that I've ever really enjoyed that much. It just feels like very safe and kind of boring to me. And I don't know, there's even some beautiful stuff in it. Yeah, I just DNF'd it because it's just not for me right now, I think. Okay, I also DNF'd another book, which I will be talking as well about in a secretive vlog coming up. You should be seeing that hopefully by the end of this week. Hopefully, we'll see. Okay, so this is Princess Bari by Hwang Sok-yong, and I'm not finding the Amazon. Okay. This is a book set in North Korea, following a family with a girl who can comfort the spirits of the dead, which is like a really intriguing premise. I DNF'd it after only 10% because it's a physical. I could only read it on ebook. And his writing is gorgeous, and I really thought I was going to love this. I thought this was, I could have put this on 5-star predictions, honestly. I was really thinking, I am going to love this. I just realized it's not. It's not focusing. But it just wasn't for me. I think I've discovered something about myself, which is that I don't really like fiction from North Korea. I don't know why that is, because I'm fascinated by nonfiction. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a snob. I don't know. But regardless, this wasn't bad. I just think it wasn't for me. And I've loved another book by him called Familiar Things. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why this wasn't for me, but for some reason it wasn't. Apothecary Diaries, Volume 7. I won't pull that up. I pull that up every month. I'm just loving this series. It's still, like, mostly mystery is mostly what it is. But the perspective has really kind of shifted to being in somebody else's head rather than Mao, the former apothecary. Hang on. Okay, I forget where I left off, but my computer was about to die and I was going to lose all the audio files, so I was like, no! So anyways, I also finished The Saturdays by Elizabeth Enright, which is a series that I'm now buddy reading with Tiffany and Claire. One of my absolute favorite middle grade series. Everybody needs to read them if you like a cozy middle grade. And the writing is it's like so exactly what it feels like to be a kid. It just reminds you of what it feels like to be a kid. I loved these as a kid, and I'm loving them again as an adult. Elizabeth Enright is wonderful. Okay, finally, we're onto my TBR. So exciting. So, Victober TBR, already mentioned. I'm not going to rehash. I just have started Mao the Real Story by Aleksandr Pantsov, which apparently is actually with Stephen Levine. This is a biography. I don't know if Aleksandr Pantsov is one person, because they keep referring to we. Maybe it's because it's with Levine. Okay, sorry. Potential spam. Okay, what's next? Sorry. I'm only on chapter, like, two of this. So this is going to take me a long time, but I think this is going to be my next nonfiction journey. I'm loving learning about China. I've never read anything about it, but I think we can say safely now that communism fascinates me. Countries who have tried to implement communism and like failed miserably. For some reason, that's fascinating to me. I think because I grew up thinking, wow, the idea of socialism sounds great. I wish we could do that, you know, but it just doesn't seem to work in the real world. So this is interesting. I was just talking with Tristan from Tristan in the Classics about this, and he was talking about how the Bible is really the only theory that worked, which is why he became Jehovah's Witness. I thought that was fascinating. I hope that's okay for me to share, Tristan. But yeah, I found that actually true. I mean, if everybody treats everybody else as their neighbor and gives when their neighbor needs it and cares about the needs of those who do not have what the rich have, we don't really need something like socialism, because everybody will be giving, and people who can produce will be given to people who can't, and that's just ideal. So I think that's actually true, but I still am fascinated by communism, and I want to learn about Mao. I honestly don't know anything about him. So, but what I've been learning so far is that he rejected a lot of philosophy. He rejected Confucianism, even though he had an upbringing that educated him in Confucianism, and he's really young still here, but he was growing up in an atmosphere where human life was not valued. Everybody worked really hard. It was like grinding poverty. What year? I'm bad at years. I need to figure out exactly what year this is happening in. Regardless, I will keep reading, and in my vlogs probably tell you what I've been reading every time. I'm hoping that I can get a few chapters in a week of this. I'm only on 3%, so this is going to take a while, but excited about that. Okay, I'm going to have to drop all of my books on the ground next to me. Okay, next, I'm also going to really focus on Bangtan Academy has started again, so my Korean school is back open, which I'm so excited about. So I've been reviewing Talk to Me in Korean level 1 with them, even though I finished that a while ago. So I have to take notes on all of the lessons and turn in proof of my notes. And that's basically what I have to do. So I want to finish level 1 review by the end of the month. And then by the end of the year, I want to finish level 2 review, so that every time I'm working on it, it's no longer review. It's actually like things that I'm like, so I'm like a third of the way through level 3 now, like my level is, but I have to review the first 2 books in order to get there. So that's annoying, but it is what it is. What else? Vespertine by Margot Robertson, I think it is called. That's her name. Jenny just had this out from the library, and we were like, okay, let's read it around the same time. This is one that I'm planning to read actually this week as soon as I finish some nonfiction. I have to admit, I finished like 3 fictions in a row because it just happened boom, boom, boom. I had a night of insomnia, and when I have insomnia, I just need to read relaxing things. And so I was just reading relaxing things for a couple hours. And so I finished The Saturdays by In the Melendi Quartet and 2 manga. So that was just how it went. So this will be prioritized after I finish my current nonfiction needs. I'm excited for this. Jenny said it has a lot of, like, the magic system involves like ancient relics or something, and it deals like respectfully with the church, which is like, I'm so excited about that. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't had a lot of luck with young adult fantasy for quite some time, but hopefully this one will like break my cold time with young adult literature. Okay, the next nonfiction that I'm finishing, I'm working on this. I'm reading a story like every night, and I think I have 4 stories left out of 30. So I've been working on this for quite a long time, but because it's not like grammar based, I wasn't going very quickly. But I'm trying to, now that I'm reading a nonfiction for every fiction that I'm reading, it does say, oh no, it doesn't say stories, it says reading. So a lot of it is kind of nonfiction about Korea. So this is in Korean, and I'm loving it. It's so fun. It has like vocabulary lists at the end. It has culture tips. It has, for every kind of story, it has a little comic strip. And it has like some notes at the bottom what it means, and then in the middle it has how to pronounce things. Like and you can listen to a track and hear them pronounce and repeat after them pronouncing it. And then it has the English translation, which I'm trying not to even read the English translations anymore unless there's a sentence that I just cannot figure out. But I'm trying to like soak in just Korean immersion. So, but at the beginning of this book, I couldn't figure out what anything really meant without looking at the English translation. So I've definitely improved, and it's exciting. Okay, next. Did I talk about the 4-story mistake? Oh, the Saturdays I finished. Why did I have that under October? Okay, I finished the Saturdays, which is book 1 in the Melindy book series. I finished that in September. This is the 4-story mistake, which I will be reading with Tiffany and Claire. I'm hoping to actually read this one as well as Vespertine still in September, but we'll see. It depends on how quickly I finish my nonfiction. Speaking of my nonfiction, Traffic by Ben Smith is one of them. I'm halfway through it, and I think I've already talked about this previously, but yeah, it's about how people discovered how to make things go viral on the internet, particularly a couple news sites. So the creator of Gawker Media, as well as the creator of like HuffPost, and there's another one. But then it follows the rise of Breitbart news as well. And it's so interesting because Breitbart starts off as like a side story / side character. In this, he's not making big waves in the beginning, but we now know who Breitbart News is, and I had never heard of Nick Denton or Jonah Peretti. I'd never heard of either of them, but I've heard of Andrew Breitbart. So, I don't know. Interesting. In Huffington, obviously, I'd heard of Adriana Huffington. Is that her name? Adriana? So, it's interesting to discover how they, like, biohack. It's like how they created news to blow up, basically. They like harnessed online search engines and stuff. It talks about BuzzFeed. It's fascinating. Okay, what's next? My Victober TBR I mentioned. Okay, I really want to work on the memoirs of Lady Hyuuga, but that may have to wait until another month because I have lots of plans for Victober. But regardless, I really want to make progress with this. I'm not very far. Okay, that's the memoir of a royal wife of a ruler in Korea's Chosun period. Okay, One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, which is the next fiction that I actually need to focus on. This is super short, thankfully. This is my book club pick for October, so if you're interested in joining us, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Email me. I actually need you to email me, or to comment your email down below, or to message me your email on Instagram, but that might take me longer to see. The best way for me to see that you want to be added to the Zoom chat for One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich is to email me at christylewisreviews@gmail.com so that I can add you to the Zoom list. So if you can do that, then you can join us. And I hope you will, because it's gonna be great. This is like a fictional account of everything that's in the Gulag Archipelago, basically. It's like his experience of going through the Russian Gulag. So Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn experienced all of this. It's almost like a memoir. It's almost like nonfiction, but I'm still counting it as fiction because it technically is. Okay, other things I want to finish. Daniel, like I said, This Is What It Sounds Like, which is an audiobook that Victoria's book club is reading. And I am, how far? Like, probably halfway through this as well. A little over halfway. This is a book about how music sounds to different people and how it's not about taste. It's not about people who like enjoy pop don't have like lesser taste, basically, which I appreciate because I really only listen to pop. So she talks about, though, I mean, yeah, I don't think that she devalues any kind of music is what I would say. I think it's interesting. I don't even know really how to describe it, but she talks about how music sounds to different people, how it makes people move. Like, she talks about kind of some of the neuroscience behind why people love certain music and what informs their tastes, how their upbringing informs their taste, etc. It's fascinating. I'm really glad that Victoria picked this because it's like, I was worried that as a K-pop fan, I was going to be like, I can't relate. But I can relate because she starts off the book talking about about her relationship with Prince. So, I mean, okay, the author is Susan Rogers, and it's written with Ogas, but Susan Rogers is like the one who's telling most of the story, and she worked with Prince. So it's fascinating. It's interesting a lot of it's about how music was recorded and what music says about you and about the creator. It's really interesting. Okay, Tress of the Emerald Sea. Hoping I can finish that as well by Brandon Sanderson. Loving that. That's so fun. That's another one for the blog that I haven't mentioned. A Haunting in Venice by Agatha Christie. I have it on audiobook and I need to finish it quickly because people want it back. So I have a lot of things crowded onto my TBR. Can you see why I'm reading a lot lately? I just have so much. Another nonfiction book that I want to read is Glitter and Concrete by Alyssa Max Goodman. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. So this is a cultural history of drag in New York City. I know literally nothing about drag, and I just really thought I should. I mean, I really should. It's like an important part of culture today in America. So I thought I could probably read a cultural history of it and learn a little bit about it. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. The Werewolf of Paris by Guy Endor. Okay, I just went on a spree of looking for classic horror when we were trying to choose the next book for Victoria's Patreon, which ended up being Carmilla. But The Werewolf of Paris, The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, The Woman in Black by Susan Hill, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. So those are the ones that might count for Victober, but I'm not sure because I don't remember where they are written or when they are written. But I'm excited about all of them. They all sound super atmospheric, and I'm really into werewolves at the moment. I think because I've been rereading Twilight, but I've always been interested in them. Also, if anybody knows any fiction about giants, I want to read about giants, more about titans. Tell me where I can read about them. I don't really know. I'm a terrible researcher. I need your help. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. This is a long video. Thanks for hanging in there. And let me know what you're planning to read in October. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.